So basically what we learned from the rule of 72 is the earlier you start investing, the better, the more time you have for your money to compound. And it doesn't matter how much money you're putting in. You understand now how long it takes to double your money. Have you ever heard the word compounding when it comes to investing in the stock market, or compound interest? You've probably heard of compound interest, right? So compound interest you typically get when you put your money in a savings account and you earn like 2% or whatever, and instead of pulling that money out, you leave that money in, and now your $100 grows to $102, and then the interest the following year is not on the $100, but now it's on $102. You continue to grow. Compounding the stock market grows at a much faster pace. For the longest time, I've been trying to figure out a way to explain this concept to people on the internet that are brand new, or even just people around me that are brand new, afraid to invest, think investing is gambling, all that stuff. And trying to get them to understand and really wake up to the idea of the power of investing in the stock market, specifically in an index fund or an index ETF. Then I came across the idea that you need to understand what compounding is and how it works before you're just like, oh my God, I need to invest in the stock market. I can't go without investing in the stock market. I feel like for a lot of people right now, without knowing that, the stock market is essentially gambling. You don't understand it. It's complicated. You're going to lose all your money. So what I came across was the rule of 72. The rule of 72 is a formula which can estimate how long it can take for you to double your money on an investment. All you need to do is take the number 72 and divide it by the rate of return that you expect to receive. So your rate of return, or your return on investment, is basically how much money you made on your investment or your profit divided by the money that you put up to get that profit. So if you make $20 and you put up $100, 20 divided by 100, 20%. The average rate of return in the stock market for an S&P 500 index fund has been 8 to 10%. And I like to always go with 8% when doing any kind of numbers or math around this, because I'm a conservative person. I like to always think about the worst case scenario, especially when it comes to dealing with money and risk. How did they get to 8 to 10% like the average? It's because in some years the stock market has been up 35%, other years it's been up 10%, other years it's been up 22%, other years it's been up 1%, other years it's been down 5%. It goes up and down, but just like in school, when you take an average of your grades, historically, for the last 50 years, the S&P 500 has generated 8 or 9%. So that's the average, right? So I like to go with a lower amount, 8%. So if you average out all the returns each year, you get to 8%. Having said that, now you know your rate of return is 8%. You know the rule of 72 is 72 divided by your rate of return gives you how many years it takes for you to double your money. So if we do 72 divided by 8, you get 9 years to double your money. Think about it. Let's just say you have $100,000 and you wanted to invest it. Let's say you're 25 years old and you invest your $100,000. It's gonna take 9 years to double your money. So you're 30 years old, you have $100,000, and you invest that into the S&P 500, into the stock market and index fund. Based on historical numbers, based on that 8%, your $100,000 will double in 9 years. So you're 30, by the time you're 39, you now have $200,000. And according to the rule of 72, in another 9 years, it's gonna double again. So now your $200,000 in another 9 years will double. So your $200,000 will double from $200,000 to $400,000. From your age 39 to 48, you'll have $400,000. From 48 to 57, your $400,000 will double again to get to $800,000. So you can see how that works. So basically what we learned from the rule of 72 is the earlier you start investing, the better, the more time you have for your money to compound. And it doesn't matter how much money you're putting in. You understand now how long it takes to double your money. If you were to get a rate of return, obviously, of 15%, say you invested in one individual stock and you let it sit there, you got 72 divided by 15, that gives you 4.8 years. Your money will double in 4.8 years if you get a rate of return of 15. Now, we used 8 because even though there's going to be really good years where the S&P 500 does 20%, 30%, 40%, we're talking throughout your lifetime, it'll average out to probably 8% a year, which is very good when you compare it to savings rates. It is very good compared to owning your home that you live in, because like I talked about in a previous video, there are a lot of phantom costs that come with owning a home that people don't account for, and they just think, oh, I own my home. I bought it for 100K. It's now worth $1 million, 900K, easy. No, you paid a lot of money. You spent a lot of money along the way to get to that point, and you're not deducting that. So we don't actually know. Your rate of return is not what you think it is. 8% is very, very good. If you can get 10%, even better. On average, for the average person, the beginner that knows nothing about stocks, nothing at all, look up the S&P 500. Look at what it's done. Google it. You have access to Google. Google it. S&P 500 average rate of return, and tell me what bank, what savings account is going to give you anything close to that. Basically, the power of compounding is that your money can double because you're leaving your money in there to compound. These businesses are continuing to grow, and your money stays invested in those businesses, and it's just going to grow on top of itself. Even if you're not 30, maybe you're 45 and you're starting, just think, if I were to put in 10K today, it can be 20K in 9 years. 20 is going to double to 40 in another 9 years and go from there. That's with an 8% rate of return on average, which is very, very, very conservative. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. It could be a 12% return. Understanding the rule of 72 and how long it takes your money to double will give you a better idea of, well, what is my alternative here? In my opinion, the best way to combat inflation is to invest. The main reason people actually buy homes is because of inflation, but the numbers have to make sense, right? The power of a business being able to compound is just crazy. I'm gonna make a proper video where I can actually show you numbers side by side, real estate versus investing into the stock market, an index fund versus an individual stock, to show you how much of disparity or difference there is between what the difference is between all of them. If you understood what I just mentioned in this video, if you really understand it, if you don't understand it still, then maybe I got to do a better job to explain it. The rule of 72, which Albert Einstein happened to say that compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, for whatever that's worth to you. The problem is it's hard for us to understand it because we don't think in exponential terms, right? Compounding is you're exponentially doubling, right? The earlier you start, the better, especially for investing for your kids and stuff. The more time they have for the money to double and compound and grow, the wealthier they'll become. Compounding is the secret to wealth. Ultimately, just be realistic, you know what I mean? Just be realistic about your money and finances and see what you can do for your situation, you know what I mean? You might not want to make crazy amounts of money and you're just trying to enjoy your life. That's great. That's who I'm trying to speak to, really. You're trying to enjoy your life, you're saving money, you're good at saving, but you don't know what to do with it. And this video is for you. If you really understand compounding and how it works, then hopefully you can have the confidence to dip your toe in the water and start to invest in the stock market. You don't need to know much. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be a finance major or anything like that. Anyways, hope you found this video helpful. I'll see you guys in the next one.